make some good impact and growth. I'll first want to give a shout out to we got a council member here, Councilmember Dixon. She's here. And also we have our police chief here. So just want to shout those two out. If we don't have that many people, and I'm sorry, we have.
No. Go around the table. And
yeah, we have the town administrator, Michelle, here, but we don't have many people, but if we could start here and everyone could just introduce themselves and say what business and, why they're here.
So Brendan Quinn, I'm the president and CEO of Ernest Mayer. And I have been here 29 and a half years down the street. I was here hired to fix the company and then I bought the company from the Mayer family in 2001. And I've spent more of my life here than anywhere else. So I always do like which share of your life you spent places, and there was an exact point where I've spent more waking time in Bladensburg than anywhere else while I've been alive. So be 30 years in June. Company will be 100 years old next year. And right now we're just frozen. So it's going to be in a warm place.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cindy Cole. I run the rowing club down at the park, Bladensburg Waterfront Park. Started the club in '06, although I was coming here for a while before that, before I actually moved to Bladensburg. Go pretty much year round, but right now we're on rowing machines. If it's not snowing or raining, we're actually out in the yard, so I can't really say indoor training because for the pandemic, we got used to being outdoors and we decided to kind of like that. Except right now, we're inside the boat bays, but we have a group, anywhere from 6 to 15 that show up every morning. We're down at the park working out on the rowing machines. So we're year round, not quite frozen. Sometimes it's hard to get the lock open on the gate, but anyway, glad to be here.
Cindy, I'm gonna get out there with you. I know I made that promise. Wife, she had a baby and it's cold, but once it warms up, I'll be out there.
Good.
Chief Tyrone Collington, happy to be here, been here almost 7 years now. And from working on the Montgomery County side, specifically down in Tacoma Park, spent 21 years there. Retired as a captain over there, retired military. So I just love to serve. Looking forward to working with everybody, building businesses, building partnerships. So anything I can do, we're here. You see us out there, say hello.
Perfect word. Thank you, Chief.
Good afternoon. My name is Lorraine Griffin. I work at Bladensburg Library. I'm a librarian. I've worked in the library system for maybe 24 years. Been at Bladensburg since it opened down the street. I was here to meet people, meet business owners, and town staff, and to see how maybe the library can support everybody. Thank you.
Regine Watson. I'm the assistant town administrator / town clerk for the town of Bladensburg. Been here for almost 6 months. So, but I guess I'm the new person here, but I've been in the field of economic development for many years. I went to school for it. So I'm looking forward just to learn everything and getting to know everybody and you will see it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Councilmember Felicia Dixon for the town of Bladensburg, Ward 1. Thank you again for coming out, and we're here to just hear you inside and to continue. Thank you also for your continuous contribution to the town, and just looking forward to continue working with you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michelle Bailey Hedgepeth. I'm the town administrator. I really want to thank staff for putting together things today, and we're hoping that we can grow these meetings and trying to find the right time and the right place for people to come out to talk about business in the town. We're doing actually a lot to try to encourage this, not only the business roundtable, but we have been trying to apply for more funds with the state for facade improvement programs and working on some capital programs that will we can provide some updates on as we move forward. also I think you guys have copies of the legislative priorities or things that we've been working with are, in regards to kind of things that we're looking for the town and trying to get that out to the delegation. Chief Collington actually just testified yesterday, and I'm gonna just toot his horn a little bit. He's been very involved in organized retail theft, and he'll probably be able to tell you more about that. But I think that we are serious about trying to preserve and grow business in the town and really trying to make sure that we've been really supporting business. And I want to thank Brendan for his help recently with our Public Works building. When the day after it happened, his team was out there to help us to just get our building stabilized. So it's really great to have partners like that in the town, and I'm looking forward to working with everybody. But I just wanted to kind of say that in the beginning, because sometimes we might not be able to say thank you to everybody all the time. So thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Glad to help.
My name is Salvador. I am representing the Ferry Construction Company. We are located on 4321 Baltimore Avenue. It's a construction company, general contractor, and we have been working in the area for almost 30 years. We have been located in this place, and we are willing to work with the community, whatever is necessary.
Thank you.
Yes, that leaves me. Good afternoon. My name is Larry Hens. I'm the Executive Director of Business Development for the Prince George's County Economic Development Corporation. We are the economic development arm for the Prince George's County government. Glad to be here by invite.
Yeah, thank you, Larry. And like I said, appreciate you all taking the time to, meet with us. Two things that two updates that I wanted to provide. What's been in the news and, kind of interesting topic within the town of Bladensburg, well, really across the whole region is the Bladensburg Town Council. They voted to annex the Hospital Hill site. This has created a little bit of controversy. It's a pretty interesting topic of discussion. It looks like there's going to be some litigation and a little bit of a fight over who has the right to annex this property. I will say it's the meeting is on demand, like
Correct.
you can go back. So
It is.
if you're interested in it, you can take a listen. The council and the consultants and the mayor did a really good job of outlining the rationale and the economic benefit for annexation. But really, this is an economic development initiative and a push. The town has been very aggressive and has a strong vision on where the town and the greater Port Town region can go from an economic development perspective. And also in this region of the county, there's not too much green space, not too much accessible land that is available. So there are times when you have to be a little bit aggressive. So that's what the town has done. So you can go back to the meeting, listen to the rationale, and there'll be a continued conversation that will be pretty interesting. On another front, the town a few years ago got federal funding from Senator Cardin and members of the Maryland congressional delegation to put a trade school in the town of Bladensburg. We've started that process of outreaching to the county. We're trying to figure out the right location and really setting down the groundwork. We received $1 million in federal funds. We're working with Employee Prince George's. So I think in the next few months, we'll see some real momentum and kind of the ball rolling downhill with that. So that's pretty interesting. And like Michelle said, the facade improvement program, that's something that's in the works. I think we're going to be trying to procure more funds in this upcoming Maryland General Assembly session. So that's something to be excited about, especially for property owners within the town of Bladensburg. So that's what we've been working on. We're very excited about those things. Bladensburg is very aggressive with regards to economic development. And, frankly, me speaking personally, I think that Bladensburg and the Port Town region has been a little bit overlooked with regards to economic development. And it is a gem, and you got some natural assets, and it is close to Washington, D.C. That side of the D.C. border, there's some development going on there. So it's not too not too far of a thought to say like, hey, we should be making investments and getting aggressive on this side of the border. So we invited Larry Hentz. He's the he works at economic development with the PG EDC. So he's going to impart some wisdom and some resources. And so without further ado, I have Larry give us a few words, and we can have, after that, if there's opportunity for questions or whatever, we can have a little bit of a conversation. And then the food will be here, and we can eat something, and we'll be all on our way. So, Larry.
Where you want me to sit?
Oh, you
No, you
can
can
go
go there.
Either way,
Yeah.
it'll pick you up either way.
Oh, pick me up either way. Okay. Yeah. Cheers.
We're gonna make it better for you next time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, again, my name's Larry Hentz. I'm the Executive Director of Business Development for the Prince George's County Economic Development Coalition. We refer to it as the EDC. The EDC is a 501c3. What that really means to you is we are a quasi-government agency, like Fannie Mae. We're funded by the county. The county executive picks our president and the majority of the members of our board. Our mandate is just twofold: to increase the commercial tax base within the county and to increase the number of full-time jobs in the county. So everything we do revolves around those two mandates. We do not get involved in residential projects. We cannot get involved in residential projects. We can get involved in mixed-use projects or straight commercial projects. We've conducted 2 studies in the last 7 years, and they confirm the way we go about strategically to do economic development in the county. Let me back up. The reason why we want to increase our commercial tax base is simply because as a county, our tax base is predominantly on the backs of us as residents. We're somewhere at this current moment between 65 to 70% of our tax dollars. If I remember correct, the number 67% of our total tax budget comes from the residents. The rest of the region, because nothing is good except by comparison, the rest of the region is much, much, much closer to 50% commercial and 50% residential. The issue with it being predominantly residential is it creates a burden that is on the individual taxpayer. But also, if the value of homes drops like it did, whatever that was, 10 years ago or 12 years ago, then it has a great effect on the tax dollars that can be collected. So the way that you offset that and put the county in a better position is for you to have predominantly commercial tax base. That's the reason for that. The reason for increasing the full-time jobs pre-COVID, again, over 65% of our residents left the county every day to go to work, predominantly in Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia. As a matter of fact, the majority of the high-earning residents of Prince George's County would leave the county to go. And again, that's in pre-COVID. So that's the reason for the 2 mandates. Now, the 2 studies that we did, they confirmed something for us. And so we focus on particular business sectors, predominantly for 2 reasons. One, they show growth over the next 5, 10, 20 years. Number 2, they have what we refer to as good bones. We already have some infrastructure and the ability to grow in that area. Those areas are first and foremost is a small business division. Each of the persons that report to me that are responsible for the individual areas technically are the expert in that particular area. So small business, because we're predominantly a county made up of small businesses. Now, the second area is retail and restaurants. Honestly, most economic development organizations do not have a person doing retail. The state of Maryland does not even offer a single incentive for retail in and of itself. But because of the fact that in excess of 1.7, maybe $8 billion leaves this county every year to go to Washington, D.C., North Virginia, Montgomery County, and Annapolis area. There's a great demand from the residents and honestly, therefore, from our political leaders. So we have a person that focuses on retail. Next, we have a person that focuses on, let's say, government relations, federal government, state government, county government, and the school board. Because those organizations, well, federal government is, we have over 14 federal agencies here in Prince George's County, and we have 2 that are scheduled to come into the county, one being the FBI, which, if I'm reading the political tea leaves, I believe a lot less personally that the FBI is going to come because of the change of administration. The next one that is actually has to be considered is the Bureau of Engraving, which is coming. Literally, the county will be printing money. It'll be going to Greenbelt. But that one too, like everything is under the new administration, is back on the page. But we have a person that focuses on federal, so keep us abreast of space opportunities, and a large number of our employees are federal. So but the third reason is procurement opportunities. That's the reason that that person focuses on federal. Same reason they focus on the state. We only have currently one state agency in Prince George's County, but there are many procurement opportunities that exist. And within the county itself, procurement opportunities, and of course, the school board too. So that our small businesses will have a fair share of opportunities. We have a person that will help them in that process. Next, we have a person that focuses on IT. Again, because of, as I say, the good bones, it's a strong category for us. You've been probably hearing about ion storage, for example, if you've been reading about the governor's funding of $1 billion for this very subject. I'm sorry, $1 million. Billion, what's the difference?
I think it's $1 billion for ION. It's 750 billion.
Almost $1 billion.
for
Yeah, almost $1 billion.
Economic development.
Thank you. Ion storage works in we're really technically, literally, the headquarters for quantum computing. Now, all I can tell you about quantum computing is it means everything is made very, very small. I'm done after that. Nothing else I can tell you about it. Our phones are a result of quantum computing. The University of Maryland is involved in this a lot, and students who have left the University of Maryland and literally start companies are heavily involved. We're actually starting to compete with areas like Chicago, Texas, and other parts of the country, and regarding the companies that already exist here. But IT is very important to us. Think about it from the standpoint of the federal piece, the national security piece, the military piece, all those various opportunities for IT. The next one we have is healthcare. We have a new hospital. We have a person that focuses exclusively on health, science, and life sciences. We have a person that focuses exclusively on international. So we do usually one trade mission a year. We're actually going to Mexico relatively soon. We go to Mexico, try to time it around a major kind of what we would call a convention where businesses that have been pre-screened by the State Department there and the embassy will be at the table. And literally, I call it a dating game. You pre-set meetings with them, sit down and have conversations, see if there's an opportunity to export or import. Obviously, in our areas, what we again care about are retail, IT, healthcare, those kind of items that we're already involved in that regard. let's see, so I feel like I'm forgetting some. Okay, well, I was gonna say that's it for you, because my mind can't remember it. So that being said, that's the areas that we focus. Now. How do we do this? We do this by the areas that I think of us as a bridge for the state and county government. A business comes to the area or potentially looks in the area, and we can assist them with looking for a site. Once they find a site, of course, they should work with their own broker. We can educate them on the potential incentives that could be related to the site, geographically based or industry based. That's the other one, industrial, warehouse, and manufacturing. I knew I forgot something. So that's the way we'll do that analysis. And then once we complete that analysis, we will compare that to what the state can bring to the table. And then if there is an opportunity, we bring the state into that conversation. We can assist them also by if they need to increase their hiring. What we can do is we can set up a meeting with them and what we currently call EPG, which is our Employment Services Division. Literally, for example, one of my favorite examples of this is Tanger Outlet. We did a 3-day hiring event when that first came online. They needed 3,000 people, and we had a 2 or 3-day hiring event with pre-screen applicants, found the location. It was a rec center, if my memory serves me well, and they needed 1,500 people, and 1,200 were hired over that 2-day period of time. And that includes managers as well as others. That's the kind of thing that we can do. We work with the permit department to help get projects through the permitting process. It can be interesting, especially since we're still on a hybrid schedule. And what that again means to the business community is there's not always someone in the office every day. So honestly, it's become a delay issue. And the time to get a project through has increased. So we tend to try to get involved in that and recognize as early as possible, even before you submit your permits, to make a decision, help you the businesses make a decision, whether or not you need to do a pre-submission meeting, whether or not you need to do monthly ongoing meetings, or whether or not we just need to make them aware of the deadlines in that regard. Other than geographically based incentives, we have something called the EDI Fund, Economic Development Incentive Fund. It started out as a $50 million fund, and it has 2 basic lanes. One is for a traditional loan, 1% over prime. The other one is what the business community will call a grant. We call a conditional loan. If you meet the conditions of the loan that is being deferred over your 3 to 5 year period of time, that loan is then converted to what you will call a grant. We call it revenue, so we can tax you. And that's the way that would work. The minimum dollar amount is $250,000. We've done one loan at 4 million, one conditional loan at $1 million, but it had over 100 jobs, and the majority of those jobs were 80 to 120K. So that's the way that would work. I want to say to you, something that also we do is I personally try to bring the municipalities together once per month in economic development, because I truly believe that if the 27 municipalities will come together, and I understand that you basically fall into 3 categories, in my humble opinion. You have those who have a team, 1 to 3 people that focus on economic development. That's approximately 7 or 8. Then you have the other ones, about 7 or 8, that maybe have 1 person, but that 1 person may do 2 jobs. Then you have the third group of about 7 or 8 that maybe think about it, but because they're predominantly residential, or their small municipality as far as functioning, they do not have a person at all. But I believe something that I heard a long time ago, that a rising tide raises all ships. And so therefore, and also we have CDCs that operate in this county. So I just feel strongly that if we can bring them together on an ongoing, consistent basis, we can uncover opportunities, share some of our issues and concerns and work together on overcoming some of these obstacles. That's the EDC in a nutshell. Question?
What's the status of the lawsuit about the FBI headquarters?
The lawsuit is irrelevant.
Yeah.
The lawsuit is irrelevant. What is relevant is the current presidential administration, based off of history, because I believe history is your best source to look at the future. And historically, after the FBI was awarded to Prince George's County, the now current president made a decision before to kill them.
Mhm.
So where we are is, before he left office, by the way, a large number of FBI jobs were moved to Alabama. Now, I should mention that the chairman of that committee was from the state of Alabama, too. So, and also I should mention that the governor of Virginia has already met with the president to discuss the FBI. So, and we are technically a blue state with a Democratic governor. I know those things should not matter, but I just want to be as transparent as I can be and speak in terms of consistency of action. So that being said, the assumption is that the current president will decide not to allow the largest government development project in the history of the United States be developed in Prince County. That's the assumption. Yeah, that's the assumption.
That one doesn't surprise me as much as you grew up with printing given its age.
Well, the Bureau of Engraving, again, like the FBI, has to go somewhere, but does it have to come to Prince George's County?
Right.
It will be on federal land, and I want to say 3,000 jobs and something along those lines. But it also means improvement to all that federal land that is there. The roads will be improved, everything would be improved. But again, I'm just reading the tea leaves here. That could be an issue too. It's vulnerable. They have not picked a contractor yet, and we were told that they're gonna wait about 6 weeks to see what's.
Yeah. That's accurate. They've scoped the GCs and we have provided funding
Mhm.
for every phase of it.
Yeah.
And it is now, those numbers all went in November.
Yeah,
So the hard numbers were done by then.
right. We're told to wait
Yeah,
6
yeah.
weeks.
It wouldn't surprise me if they just go to regional headquarters. Because we supplied the Quantico buildings. I mean, they put a whole campus. And it's also, it's where they have, all the television shows are based on the campus.
On the
But it's,
Yeah.
but the Bureau of Engraving and Printing just seemed, well, I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of real estate transactions get done.
Yeah.
Because nobody goes to the office and I'm not sure that those buildings in downtown, it's, my brother works at Commerce. It's 20% occupied.
Yeah.
2 million square feet.
Right.
So,
But you heard the mandate.
yeah, the president,
Yeah,
put
yeah.
out a mandate, yeah.
gotta go back in.
I think a lot of
Well-
people, I think there's gonna be a lot of people,
Well,
gonna take their pension and run.
yeah, that's one. So you're gonna see retirements. But it also, here's the other interesting part, that the president also put a freeze on hiring. So I
They
think,
extended all the offers.
yeah. So, but then beyond that, not only those two, you have to understand that this, I know this because it was taking place here in the county. The US Census reconfigured their whole building and thinking in terms that we would be working in a hybrid schedule for decades to come. They literally redesigned their offices. It's called, it's a, what is it, hospitality style. So like you had the key cards to go into your room, every office now is, for all intents and purposes, and conference rooms, I've been on the tour, you can schedule a space, but it's designed that nobody has their own permanent office anymore. So therefore, and it's really not physically designed that all 10,000 people come back there to work at the same time. They spaced it out, so they gotta work through something.
So, I've been watching, the governor's kind of reaction to the transition and, you know, the president, Trump, when in his election, I think he's choosing his words carefully. I think, at the end of the day, I mean, the Key Bridge, Bureau of Engraving and Printing, FBI, those are three major projects that, you know, like, the president can, you know, kill if he wanted to. And I think at the end of the day, there may need to be a conversation between, it's interesting to hear that the governor of Virginia is going to talk about, FBI.
Yeah.
I think the governor of Maryland should do the same thing if he hasn't already.
Not on the record anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all about bringing the bacon home, you know? So that's gonna be interesting, to see.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, the connection. I mean, Wes Moore through the Robin Hood Foundation, Stan Druckenmiller, all the guys that give all the money are all people that have connections to, especially the Treasury Secretary. Where do you sit on annexation of the Hospital Hill?
Personally? Look, professionally, first, the EDC doesn't have a position. But personally, I think it makes our county look better. That we're having a conversation out in the public that should be discussed privately. And actually now it's going to the courts. It sends a bad signal to the development community. It adds to already the perception that this is not a place in order to come. And the other part is it makes the whole project vulnerable as to whether or not it'll get done. Because if we tie this up or you tie this up in the courts for an extended period of time, it could kill the timeline on the project, or it could help honestly, but it's a gamble. So the question is, will interest rates go down? Will the cost of construction go down? Or will we have the different results from the potential TARPs and losses in jobs that could be projected? Now, here's the reality of economics. If we have the identical same project being done here, or let's just say Washington DC, the same identical cost, same exact project, and I pay less for the land here in Prince George's County, on an average about 18% less, right? But as a business person, my ROI, my return on investment for that project and the increase in value is greater in the District of Columbia. So what I'm saying is, yes, I spend a little more for land, but my return on investment is substantially higher. So we are already automatically at some disadvantage.
Except
And-
there's not abundant land in the
That's right.
district. I guess that's the reason why there is a supply
Oh,
and demand. issue.
absolutely.
And so I think that would be the clarification, right? Is
Right.
that there's not areas, and you're also limited by the district of how high you can build and what you can build.
Yes.
And that you don't have those limitations in Prince George's or in Northern Virginia. And I think those are the other factors, but I wanted to say that there's a supply issue, correct, on the other side.
Yeah.
And I guess if this is a conversation, because I guess my only other thought is that, when we're talking about this whole issue of economic development, and I appreciate, because you were also part of the Port Town sector plan. And maybe we focus kind of so some of the question too is to kind of talk about what is the economic development outlook for the port towns and specifically, and where do you see us growing? Because if it's not, if it's not Hospital Hill for the town of Bladensburg, or from the standpoint of sharing, of having some kind of shared benefit between Bladensburg and Cheverly, from the standpoint that there's no doubt that Cheverly is not an island, if we say that, right? And I think, I won't get into the way for Bladensburg, but what are our prospects for this area? Because very specifically, what can we expect, or what do you see are opportunities for Bladensburg?
Okay. Want to go back on something, the New York City, Manhattan is as fixed a retail space as you can get. It's a rock island. But because of the market in this capitalistic society, the value of the property on that limited island goes up, up, and up. Because there is a large segment of the market that needs or wants to be on that location. The same thing exists for Washington, D.C. and other forms of real estate along the beachfront of Miami, even though there's all kinds of issues with that. So I'm not saying that we can't do and haven't done very successful business. But I'm saying is, if you're on the other side and not part of this side, but the business side, and you hear that it's difficult to get through permitting, that you hear that crime is a problem, that you hear education is a problem, that you hear stories, because we always hear in all of our jobs, we hear way more of the bad stories than we have the good. Even though I say statistically, there are more good stories are there than there are the bad. But the ones that get repeated and magnified are the bad ones. When we have a council that decides to put in rent control, when you cannot point to another part of the country that has done well with rent control, it does not improve the amount of housing that exists. If anything, it will kill the pipeline for potential housing. Housing and daycare are greatly needed. And we're always better off incentivizing this in the marketplace instead of creating hurdles and walls that create restriction in those. That's what I want to say about that. Now, regarding your question regarding for the port towns, the first thing that I've said, I'd like to think I've said at every one of the meetings, the first and most important thing is the port towns get on the same page. Because you're much stronger united than you are working individually. You're much stronger. You cover a larger portion of geographic. You have a larger segment of the voting population. You also can share in the resources and the demographic profiles. You're much better off coming together and presenting yourselves as a unified area. That's the first piece. Second piece is you should get control of each port town should get control, in my opinion, of an intersection where high traffic, high volume goes. I would simply pick the one that you've already started where the new library is, for example. If you can get control of that through a carrot and a stick and improve all four corners of that intersection, you'll have something that you can point to and say, this is what we can be. Now, what you have to have is density. You have to increase density at this point. Yes, amenities. Yes, it has to have a certain look that can be carried out throughout the whole area, but you have to increase the density. Personally, I would focus on workforce housing. That's what I would do. Whether they would be multifamily apartments, and honestly, something you should think about if you have a site location would be rental townhomes. Now, I will admit, I know. The issue is not in the development of these kind of projects. The issue is in who has the opportunity to stay in them. One of the reasons an area like Bowie does not like multifamily is they think of them all as something near the University of Maryland 30 years ago. They're drinking beer and throwing beer cans out the windows on the weekend. But if you drive by the University of Maryland now, you clearly don't see that because of the cost of these multifamily units that exist in that area. I just want to suggest to us that we have to increase the density here. We have to increase the income levels here. And also the municipalities have to get control of property that makes sense. Because only through consolidation of land can you really have real impact. And therefore, you do not want to get into this, I put a little something here, a little something there, a little something, a little something there. It will have no real impact. The way to have impact is to go into an area, especially those of us who work with limited resources, and honestly dominate that. And then from there, spring out from that. I know politically that does not always work because the other areas want to participate. But I want to suggest to you, if you want to go about this, you should go about it the same way you would build a house. You come up with a plan for that whole property and you develop it. One of the most interesting things, if you've ever been in a house that has added pieces over time, it either from the outside does not look or something is off, or when you go inside, it doesn't flow to the optimum level that it should. So those are my suggestions.
No, thanks, because I know that the one thing, and we have a Port Towns meeting on the 27th.
Yep.
And so we are going to be introducing the community development, the CDC again.
Mhm.
We've had some issues because the previous CDC has not fully dissolved, but we are trying to get a new one in place and also put together a funding mechanism for a CDC for all the Port Towns to develop a cohesive strategy. So that is coming. I guess that some of what you're saying, we've been talking about, certain areas, but I think the hard part, and I guess that's what we've got density in the town of Bladensburg. To be honest with you, we're one of the densest in this area next to, let's say College Park, or, what we have, because we're only 1.2 miles and we have a density as a normal, because of even our small lot development is pretty dense.
Mhm.
I guess the question is that, no town, wants to only have rental housing. We have a lot of rental. And we actually have half of our town is made up of rental units.
Mhm.
So I guess that's the challenge for any small municipality, and finding the right source of rental, because we're not going to get, let's say, the college kids that are willing to spend $2,500
Yeah.
a month, because we're too far away from College Park. And even when we do workforce, you're right, workforce housing is expensive to build. It's expensive to rent.
Yep.
People are paying quite a bit up at the Phoenix and at some of these large apartment complexes right now. And we get that from our residents. But I guess the balance is that how do we, as towns or as municipalities, sort of balance those needs? Because we've got a lot of long-term homeowners in the core parts of our town
Yes.
that are the backbone of this town. And they want to be able to be safe, and they're afraid of multifamily housing. What do you guys do? I mean, how does it, as economic development, how do you kind of, what are the talking points that you would suggest that we use as we move forward?
Well, one is, I always believe in visuals. So the first thing I would show them would be when new developments come, even for our council members, is to show them pictures so that they're not left to their own mind. These are what these look like. Because visually, that helps sets the basic standard. So I'm not left to thinking what I think this building looks like. Then I would also show them other areas that have the similar type buildings and give them the demo profiles, and this, honestly, to some degree, the psychographic profiles of them. So not only will they know their education, income, and race, but they also understand the kind of things they do, how much they spend on groceries, how many cars do they have American or foreign, those kind of things. Help them build a picture of who would be in this space.
Can the EDC help us provide those psychographic, that information on some of our stuff?
I wish we had. You come there, don't get me started what I wish we had.
Because
I can tell you who can give it to you,
Yeah.
if you have it. Media. You can get, if you know anybody in radio or television or
Right.
cable they have access.
I've been getting a call from a particular firm that does it, and they want to sell us.
Yes.
They want to sell us something that would provide that based on cell phone data and.
Playstar?
Placer, yeah.
It is the best in the market. It has the best reputation, and it's also the most
Most
expensive.
expensive,
We can't even afford it.
yeah.
Now, let me be clear. The original price they came to us with, they went down 3/4, I mean,
They came down on ours.
60% they came
Yes, they
down.
did.
But see, that bothers me personally. If
You don't
you
know how
were
much it's
selling
worth.
me something and then you're gonna cut the price after I say no, 60% the first
That
time.
was the original price.
Yeah,
Well, I
so
guess-
now, yeah,
I
right,
guess
now I'm
that's-
personally
that's-
upset.
So maybe we have to have an offline conversation
Yeah.
because they've made an offer to us for a lot lower, and I've always felt like it should belong in the EDC.
Yes, it,
And if, because we can't necessarily use it as fully and so maybe that is an offline conversation that we can have, because I feel like I don't have the data.
No.
When the data they gave me, when I looked at like our shopping centers
Mhm.
and our stuff, I mean, they're off the charts. Like if you would say they might not be pretty, but we are getting unique visitors.
yeah,
Our shopping centers work.
yeah.
I can attest to that. My option is right there. I didn't even
Oh,
know
yeah.
it. Oh,
And,
that.
I tell you, I used to believe that, for example, because at ICSC, the retail convention we go to, spend time at the place serve food.
Right.
And I had them pull up Tanger Outlet, I mean, for example. My original thought was that the majority of people that come from Washington DC and Northern Virginia. Wasn't even close,
Wasn't close.
wasn't even close. Now, that doesn't explain who, that data can't tell me in and of itself, who comes out with the most average sale.
Exactly.
But as far as quantity, Playstar is excellent. It's an excellent product that is very expensive.
And I'm just saying that I guess that the thing about it is that I think people make a lot of assumptions
Mhm.
about this area.
Yes,
But when you really look at our numbers are probably, I mean, other places in the country.
Yeah.
Wish they had the numbers that Prince George's County has at our existing shopping centers, because they're not failing. You know
that's
what I'm
right.
saying?
Actually, you'll love this stat. There are 3,142 counties in the United States. Prince George's County is in the top 4%. That means we're in the first 125 of over 3,142 counties. Our problem is, or our issue is, we're surrounded by the top 1%.
Right, because you've got
And
like
several of them
Howard
in
and all
the
these other
first
places,
10.
10%, right?
Yeah,
That's for the top 10 of the whole
Yes.
country.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to compare yourself when you're in this area that's super, but
Yes.
that's what I guess, that's the thing is that, and I don't know, I mean, I've worked in Prince George's for a long time.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of people, it's really easy to kind of say like, yeah, you clean up a corner, you do this, you do that, that's how you get better economic development in this area.
Mhm.
But like, if you're like looking at 95% of the country, this is bread and butter, right? We
Yes.
don't have closed down, like, short storefronts, like there's, you don't really
Middle
have
of the
it.
country.
I think in the middle of the country, like other places, even outside of this area, like that are really struggling.
Yes. ma'am.
And I think that that's the hard part to kind of sell,
Mhm.
because it's not great for here. Like we're not, because of the way that it's not as great as everything else.
All
Does
right.
that make sense?
Okay, all right. So I'm glad you put it that way, because here's another piece that you must remember. You can't sell until you know what they want.
Right.
You have to resist it. It's the thing that we have to drill into our council members and everybody that goes with us to Vegas. They want to talk about sites, and have not learned from them what sites the companies are interested in, and most importantly, why. Why are they interested in that site? For example, it's easy to think people go by income. It's really not always it. Harris Teeter, for example, does care about income, but they care more about education. That's their number one criteria. Trader Joe's number one criteria is education and military, because they want people who are more inclined to see the world. Because in their store, if you've ever been in there, you're trying new things. You see what I mean? And so you cannot go into a developer or a retailer, or for that matter, a broker, and say, let me show you what I have. It'll be no different, ladies and gentlemen, than you come to Larry's car lot and you say, I need to buy a car, say, let me show you what I have, and never asked you what you want. You have to resist that. So one of the things you must do is get your available inventory of what you have. Keep it in mind of these and put them in the categories. This is a great site for a mixed use. This is a great site for retail. And for that matter, you would care, but I can't help you with, this is a great site for residential development or redevelopment. And you develop that inventory and you find out who owns those sites. And honestly, you can have some conversations with some of them yourselves and say, if I was to bring you someone that would partner with you or be willing to buy you, which you have an interest. So you have to develop your inventory of what's available in your area. Okay? And then once you know what you have, then you target those who are two things. One, are in that particular area, whether it's mixed use, residential, or retail, but are also comfortable in similar circumstances. And what do I mean? So, for example, when I look for restaurants to come move to the county, when my people look for them and I look for them, I look for several things. One is, it's got to be their second restaurant, can't be their first. Second thing is, average plate needs to be between $15 and $25. I already know the sweet spot. I also know I need them not to have no more than 150 seats. Because once we get in over that 2,000 square foot restaurant, there are not enough table turns in a lot of areas. So they got to be relatively small. Here's the last one and the best one though. They have to show that they're willing to work in, let's call it, urban environments. That are comfortable in what they might see. And once they meet that criteria, those are the ones we go after. And guess what? We get so much further with them than we would with some of these others, even though we have a great product. And I'll give you one. Is anybody here doubt that we had a Cracker Barrel in Prince George's County, it would not do very well? Cracker Barrel would not.
You wanna come here?
They won't come here. For a couple of reasons. They tell you that they want to be on the fairways of a lot of traffic, but we all know they're down in Waldorf, on what was 301. So we showed them the Beltway, and then they said, there's too much crime coming from the west. Literally, that's a quote. Now, they had no stats. And then when we showed them stats, they showed them there is no crime coming from the west, and there's no crime at Ritchie Station. And as a matter of fact, it's actually looks like it could be less than the crime you have down there around you have in Waldorf. They still said no. But for those, there are also these that are comfortable. Olive Garden does exceptionally well here. I'm not saying we need more Olive Gardens. Red Lobster does exceptionally well here. I mean, just again, I'm not saying we need them, but you get my point.
No, but there was a time when.
But the same people that shop at, eats at one, they will eat at the other.
Yeah.
That's my
There was a
point
time
I'm
that
making.
people were asking for all those things 10,
Yes.
15 years ago. That was the driver in
Yes.
Georges County, that
Yes.
people wanted those restaurants and they weren't here.
Yes,
And I mean, I remember it well,
Yes, right.
that we had the incomes and nobody wanted to move. And they wanted those restaurants and they wanted a place to go for a night out to eat. And I totally understand where you're coming from. I want everybody else, but I also.
Do you
say
think
food
the
rest-
wave, what about a
So,
wave?
do
Do
you guys
you
want
think
to-
the wave would do good here?
and here,
Yeah.
No.
Um,
but even, I will tell you this, Wegmans has, most grocery stores do a 1 to 3 mile radius. They do a 5 mile radius because they draw from a wider area. Now, what you have at your benefit is, and here's your thing, they're gonna need at least 140,000 square foot store. That's what they're looking at now. The one, actually, the one that we have well, Glen Arden, technically Largo,
Yeah,
that's 140,000 square foot store. So, for a while, they played with 80,000 square foot stores. To help you a little bit, that's twice the size of your traditional Giants or Safeway, the 40,000 store, not the newer ones they built out, but twice the size. But they didn't do very well, so they've gone back to 120,000 square foot. So imagine something almost as big as something in Largo. And then this is the other thing, have you ever been shopped there?
wait, yeah,
Do you have a problem getting a parking space there?
no.
Yeah. You know why? It's by design. They demand 3.5 parking spaces for everybody they think coming in there.
You can find that at Walmart.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, by design. And by the way, they had to make special exceptions for the permitting, parking planning, because the ratio was so much higher, which means you had to have this larger sea of asphalt. It's that, so it took a little maneuvering politically to get it done, because you know how it is. Nobody wants to see a sea of asphalt anymore. But if you want to bring in the wetlands, that's what it's going to take. 120,000.
I was just.
Yeah, but that's why. That's what that deal is. Yeah.
So, what do you think about, we had mentioned about the trade school earlier.
Trade school.
For the town of Bladensburg.
Yes.
So, do you think it would be good to be at the crossroads since it's our, like, main entrance?
The trade school?
Yeah, what do you think about our location?
I like that location, but you need to incorporate, the trade school has to have a frontage that works with what's going on around there. And that inn, the historic inn there where President Washington slept one night or whatever it is. I remember it from when I was a kid reading that song. We rode down here on our bikes. Grew up in DC. So I like the idea of the trade school, but I don't know if that's the best site you have, you gotta put it where the best site is. Now, because it's a school, you don't have, ideally, yeah, from access, yes, yeah, it's gotta go there, because you're not near Metro. But I want to be near the main arteries,
Okay,
and the high visibility will also be beneficial.
there's a farm shop there too.
Yeah, I know that,
I don't think the farm shop should be physically.
it should, but, you know, they were there and they've been
Yeah.
there. So,
It was just a question.
yeah, so with retailers that you're not totally comfortable with, I want to suggest to you, again, first thing though is do your inventory. What do we have available now? In mixed use, retail and residential space. What could be on the market? And then the next one is, of this, what should be on the market? So first is the reality, second is my target list. Okay? And then the third one is your wish list. What could be? Like, I'll give you one wish list, the county-owned park and planning land. I know it'll be impossible almost to get, but you should maybe, who knows, carve piece out, but it makes sense, because a lot of the waterfront pieces is owned by park and plan, controlled by park and plan. Right. And you really want access to that. You do. I know you do. You should.
Well, that was a long time ago that they wanted, before it all became parks, that there was a, you know, they wanted to be able to develop there. But it was not favorable to the county for us to develop
Right.
that as a waterfront housing, because they wanted to do waterfront
Yeah,
housing
I remember seeing that
Yeah.
a long time
a
ago.
long time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's been a battle. And so I think the battle we've got regarding Chevrolet, that would be another battle.
Yeah. But I think the Chevrolet thing, like the council thing, of what they decided by rolling back the zoning, the changes that made it easier, by the rent control things, and just DPI in and of itself, it has not been a favorable experience from the outside looking in. It doesn't look good. It really has hurt. But back to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So the three pieces. So those three targets, what you have, okay? Now, the ones that you want, that's where you're gonna have to do the hard thing, which is carrots and a stick.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many, permanent enforcement people you have, but I would have them, again, consolidate and focus on those areas that are vital and are not playing ball. Okay? Which also means you're gonna have to increase the fines. So, because if you're not creating any discomfort, you're just dancing. You have to do that. And so either they will come in line or they will want to exit. Now, there's one other thing I would suggest that you do strategically if you can. Try to develop your own finance, relationship.
Right.
Okay. I mean, you could take a look at areas like obviously smaller banks like Harbor Bank, Industrial Bank. Look outside of the region. I would maybe look around Philadelphia. Look around what's going on in Baltimore. Who's loaning money in transitioning areas? Atlanta. Those are the ones I would look at because they all are familiar with Prince George's County. So just be willing to outreach to them and see if you can have them come and take a look and be willing to put into the capital staffs so that some of these projects could get done. And plus, it would make it easier for projects to get done. Because it does you no good if you consolidate the land and you have the possibility, but nobody can get funding to do it. Because if you can help provide some funding, then outside and inside people could potentially do the projects themselves. So you should help with that.
Quick question, Larry. Actually, earlier you referenced that the EDC helps, I guess, developers or landowners do entitlement processes. Obviously, that's been something that has been a concern for developers in the private sector. Not sure if this is a question you can answer, but just from your estimation, if someone comes to the EDC, what's the reduction in time of getting through an entitlement process? We're not going to hold you to it or anything, but you know.
I can't give that to you because honestly, I don't know. But here's what happens. We go in 3 ways. One, you come to me because I learned about it early and you're going to have a project. So what we do is a pre-submission meeting so that everybody that signs off on that director or deputy director level will be in the room at one time, look over your plans, discuss it, and work through some potential issues so you can clean that up, then submit it. It costs a little more time on the front end, but it saves you, in my opinion, time and money on the back end. That's number one. Second call, we get way more people already in the process and they don't know what's going on. They provide us the permit number. We talk to someone there that is knowledgeable, but also, again, has, for lack of a better word, authority there. They'll give me the information about what's going on. Honestly, a lot of times it sits because there are things that need to be done, but the potential developer or business owner is not aware of it. The system we have is not really the best. If my phone tells me that I got a message or I missed a call, wouldn't it be nice if the system just told you repeatedly that you have mail? You need to go look at it, but it doesn't. So we get in there. Once we determine what the issue is, we figure out how to fix it and then help them get it back on track. The third group are those that, because of the complexity or the tight time frame to develop that project, we'll do pre-submission meetings and then monthly ongoing meetings with that same group that has to approve that project to get it out of there in that timely manner. And again, 2 categories. If it's a tight timeline or if it's something complicated, maybe the permit office has never seen before. For example, there is, what's it called? Something timber. I can't think of the name of it, but it's timber. What is it? Mass timber. Thank you. Thank you. Mass timber. Right now, you can only go up 6 stories with wood. But with mass timber, you can go up like steel, 8, 10 stories.
I heard about that on.
Yes,
I
right?
don't believe everything.
Well,
I know, I'm sorry, yeah.
I'm just, we have no project in it yet.
And they were talking about it in NPR as a sustainable.
It's a neat product. You have to use twice as much concrete
Yeah.
Right.
to hold that same building on, which means the embedded CO2 is greater and then if it burns.
That's what I'm working, that's where I am about
It
that.
doesn't burn, it actually smokes and it destroys, it's a product's unique.
Yeah,
It's good.
but
But nobody's ever seen it around here.
you're right.
There's
So
one job on the Navy Yard.
that's right. So there's a project that wanted to do it, and I knew immediately because of other things, we gotta have education. We educated ourselves. Then we went in and met with the permit directors and said, this is a product that may be coming here.
Right.
This is the information we have. By the way, there's a facility in the Baltimore area. If you want to go see it, we can get on the bus and go up there and see it. So they familiarize themselves before the project potentially comes. Those are the ways that we help in the process.
You know, we're right there.
Yeah,
We can show everybody a block plan every day.
Yeah,
yeah.
Best buildings you got are built on a block.
yeah.
We don't even
Oh,
need
I
this stuff.
I know,
Well, but the county does not, there's not a cross pollination
Yeah.
of information like it. You know, there's not the codes are written basically as slow as possible.
Mhm.
But given the storm environment, it doesn't make any sense, but, I could go on for days.
No,
But,
but it's like, what kind of, I was gonna say, so like this, I mean, because thinking about our businesses that we have here, and especially Ernest Mayer, since they've been in the town for 100 years, you know, like, when you were talking about your EDI,
Mhm.
and you were saying that you have really like 2 projects, and I know that like when I was in Howard County, we had several EDI, and we had a smaller cap for some small businesses that they could utilize for, let's say, interior improvements, things like that, because I'm thinking about that with our retail.
that's in this year's budget.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, can you tell us a little bit or if there's anything, I mean, like, as we expand, I mean, because there's businesses
Yeah.
that expand in this area.
It hasn't been finalized yet, even though it appears it will be. But the EDI fund, there's going to be an element for small businesses and current businesses too, along with the major impact components. Because the EDI fund predominantly is for 25 new jobs or more. And large, because again, we're trying to increase the number of full-time
Right.
jobs and the tax base. So you want to see the capital expenditures, larger projects, but there's great need for it here in the county. I can't give you a dollar amount yet because I haven't seen it yet. I do know, but they submitted it literally 2 days ago. So, yeah. Sorry, I wish I had more on that. Any other questions?
My interest here is helping people find, big thing I do is help people, support people in finding jobs. Can you talk more about that? What the need is and just, how we can
Okay.
do more.
All right, so here it is. We are if not the highest, one of the highest educated African-American communities in the country. But despite that, and I mean literally number 1 or number 2, despite that stuff, in our current public school system, we have about 40% of our children do not graduate with their class. They don't even look at dropout numbers anymore. They just say do not graduate with their class. And of those that do graduate, they read on a 7th grade level. But their math skills are on a 4th and 5th grade level. The majority of our kids in our schools do not do their math or reading on their class level. So we have these children that will graduate from high school with that D+, C+, somewhere in that range average, do not go to college, don't have the opportunity for like a trade kind of a thing, or don't understand that process. Because in some cases, culturally, it's just not looked at properly. So our 2 biggest pockets of unemployed in Prince George's County are 18 to 25 and 60 to 75. Because what we found is there's this group that retires and something happens in life. The spouse may pass, sickness, boredom, they re-enter the workforce. So those who are just getting in and those who just got out are coming back in. Those are the 2 groups. And those are the 2 groups demographically that need help. Those 2 groups. The older group, their issue is age is just not in style right now in this country. So not being older anyway. So it's difficult for them to earn the kind of income that their wisdom and experience affords them. So that's why you see 2 groups working in McDonald's at the same time. the young people and our seniors. They're competing for the same jobs. That's who they are. So what do they need? They need certificate programs, certification, they need trade skills. I'll tell you that unions are hurting, not just in this area, but all over the country. A large number of their members are retiring and reaching age. And they did this interesting thing for the last generation or two. They didn't tell their kids to join the union, they told them to go to college. So there are no people that can use the heavy equipment and things like that and have skills in pipe fitting, bricklaying, plumbing. But as construction continues to increase, the need continually goes up. Unions actually, we have a fair number of trade union shops in Prince George's County, but they don't know how to get the kids, young people, let's call them young people, to get into that program. Keep in mind, some of them are gonna need help because they're reading on a 7th grade level and they're doing math on a 5th grade level. And we have to be able to do fractions to get these union jobs. So if we can bone them up and then march them into these current places that are already in Prince George's County for the various union, or see if you have a space, reach out to the Teamsters, which is a general union, and see if they would be interested in doing building a school in that site, along with the help of other union groups that they are really comfortable working with. And then therefore, you can develop your own pipeline here.
And so we can also have more schools incorporate, stuff for training.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Some of the most effective training programs
Yeah.
are off-site though,
Yes.
because they're not subject to the union rules or the
Right.
county says you have to have a teacher's degree to be a teacher, which limits the number of people who can instruct. Most of the instructors come from the trades. They don't have a college education.
Right.
It's kind of like you just chase your tail all the time.
Right.
So a lot of the places around the country turn to busing the kids to a separate, like the building you guys are envisioning. And they get trained there by trained instructors.
Yeah. One thing you're gonna have to overcome will be is like sailboat guys don't like powerboat guys.
Yeah.
Union shop and non-union shop. If you can, in a perfect world, God knows we don't have one, but in a perfect world, if you can get them to both be in the same space at the same time, you might be really onto something. But even if you can get several of the union shops together, you still could be onto something.
Sounds good.
Well, you haven't eaten either. I just want if you want.
Y'all need anything? Did you have any more questions?
No, look, ruminate on what you said.
Okay.
So did somebody ask this question out there?
Cards here.
I left some over there.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So did anybody ask a question about the commanders and the football field?
No, and I was waiting on that one. All right, okay,
Yeah, talk about the deal.
yeah, all right. You wanna know if they're staying?
Now, be a pretty good politician.
I don't gamble,
I am a
but if I was gambling, I would put my money on their leaving. Because of the emotional tie, and because now District of Columbia now has control of the RFK site, that, yeah, they're gonna scrape it, but it's right next to a metro. You know, the residents won't like it, but it's still gonna come. And as a matter of fact, I grew up on that hill, Maryland Avenue Hill, so I'm telling you what I really know. I grew up on Maryland Avenue Hill, sir.
So I lived right around the corner from you. I lived on 19th Street.
You live on 19th Street.
Yeah.
I grew up first part of my life on 8th Street, 17th and H, where the old Lucky 7 liquor store used to be.
Right.
And the second half on 18th and M, on the other side of the hill, close to the Eddie Leonard's over there.
Yeah, and we moved, that's where I lived at the Washington Star.
Yeah.
Back in the day,
Back in the day.
Washington Star.
Yes,
and
sir.
the end of my route was right there at the Eddie Leonard's.
Yes, right, Eddie Leonard.
Now we stopped and get $1, you can get a couple of fries and salt and pepper.
There you go.
Oh,
Their steak and cheese was expensive.
oh, yeah.
It was $1.50. Yeah, yeah. So, all right. So the fact that they have control of the site, the only thing can hold them back is two things. One is they don't have enough money. When they, I mean DC. Because remember now what they're doing for the Keaton Capital Center or whatever they call that place, down where the Wizards play.
Right.
They have to spend money. They bought that. And then they're gonna fix it up and rent it for a nominal fee back to the guys that owned it. To keep them there. They have to keep them there, because if they don't, all of that stuff that's going on down there goes away. You got National Stadium, you got the soccer stadium. All that stuff costs money. It's all subsidized.
Yeah.
So that's where their problem is. But they clearly believe they can make it work, or else they wouldn't be working so hard to get it. That's one. Next one is though, as a county, our efforts were directed by the governor. The county was not always in the room when the governor evidently had conversations. And so I believe that if you don't really know what motivates you, I don't know how to convince you what you should do. Because I can't talk to you in terms of what's important to you. I don't think we ever got that. Personally, they understand something. The team owns all that land. FedEx Field. They own that. That's theirs. So we got to do one of two things. Either we got to convince them to stay and then scrape it and put one with a retractable roof on there and redevelop around there, hotel, office. And some of you won't like this, but it's the only way it's going to work. MGM or somebody goes in there, put a casino in, retail, restaurant on the ground level there. So it'd be, I hate to say this because I don't really like them. Sorry if any of you Cowboy fans. It's got to become more like the Cowboy Stadium. That stadium is open for things throughout the week.
Yeah.
Right.
DC won't be able to give them a casino.
No.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna be in all kinds of trouble here. I don't know if there's a concern that it might bother MGM. But I say two things personally. This is Larry talking. MGM makes over $70 million a month.
A lot.
A month. So two options. One, they live with making $60 million a month. When they opened, they were at $50 million a month. After COVID, they came back at 60 million. Now they're up to $70 million a month. I don't know who these people are that go there like this. Okay. And they go there just for the gambling, because the restaurants, if you notice, some of them rotate, come out.
Yeah.
The retail doesn't stay, so they're there just for gambling. And that's what's going on. So either put MGM in there, but put a full-fledged casino in there, and what do you call it, sports booking or betting? In restaurants, some retail, connect it back up to what's supposedly gonna come where the hospital is. Now you have something going. Now, I know everybody likes to see a parking lot, but you gotta put a couple of parking garages so you can use some of that land to put multifamily right around there, because you're relatively close to the metro, maybe some townhomes, maybe some medical labs, medical offices, things along that line. That's what should happen. That's what we should be talking about, especially since if we lose the FBI, that frees up that pocket of money, and that's where we should be. But I'm not convinced, huh?
The people on the blue line would be happy about it.
Yeah,
All the blue line people.
yes,
I mean, it would also make Largo a destination,
yes,
which is the issue. Which has been the issue on that line the whole time.
right. And so, but I don't see the consolidated effort. No different than what you do. Because I remember I've listened to one of your reports. You find an area that is having some concerns and issues, you focus on it.
Right.
And the crazy thing happens. It stops being a problem.
That's right.
And I don't know why we don't do that. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Larry,
Okay.
so much. I don't want to.
Thank you for being
Yeah,
here.
two questions. Anybody have a question?
Good.
All right. Y'all did leave me something.
That's a lot, there's more salad, please. All right, well, thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm gonna close up so that we can end the meeting.
Michelle, I think he has a question.
Oh, you have a question?
No.
Okay,
Oh,
okay. So thank you guys for coming, and we're gonna end the meeting. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're gonna send me some email if you have any questions. After you leave.
Okay, so I'll make sure that we have.
Oh.
Yeah.